For weeks, the capital of Burkina Faso had been restless with whispers. Something was wrong with the army's armored vehicles. They were disappearing like ghosts, always on Thursday nights. Always for exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes. No reports. No missions. No explanations. And then, just as mysteriously, the vehicles would return to their barracks before dawn, looking as though nothing had happened. President Ibrahim Traoré, a man known for his sharp instincts and refusal to bow to corruption, noticed the irregularity. At first, he suspected a clerical error or, perhaps a training routine overlooked by the ministry. But the precision of the timing gnawed at him. Every Thursday, 3 hours and 17 minutes, military trucks designed to carry gold reserves, weapons, or troops were vanishing from their official routes. He summoned no one. He asked no questions out loud. Instead, he began a silent investigation. He had learned long ago that the walls of power had ears, and in a nation where trust had been poisoned by decades of exploitation, secrecy was his only ally. Traoré requested access to GPS logs, under the guise of routine, modernization. What he found unsettled him deeply. The vehicles were veering off their registered patrols, often moving toward remote mining regions before reappearing near military depots. But there was something more. Fuel consumption records showed unusual spikes, suggesting the trucks were carrying far heavier loads than official manifests admitted. For weeks, he tracked the patterns. Each Thursday night, the trucks vanished. Each Friday morning, strange deposits appeared in foreign accounts, always routed through anonymous intermediaries, always cleaned through Swiss banking codes. The numbers told a story of betrayal on a grand scale. Over 15 years, an astonishing $847 million in gold had been siphoned away from Burkina Faso's land, laundered through international networks, and hidden under the noses of the very soldiers sworn to protect it. The mastermind, however, remained a mystery until Traoré stumbled across a small but curious detail. Among intercepted communications was a sequence of biblical verses exchanged between senior officers. At first glance, it looked like harmless religious chatter. But when cross-referenced with troop movements, the verses aligned perfectly with convoy routes, times, and cargo codes. Someone had been using the Bible as a cipher, cloaking treason in the language of faith. The man behind the scheme was none other than Colonel Ouagadougou, once hailed as a war hero. Ouagadougou had fought bravely years earlier, earning the respect of soldiers and civilians alike. Yet behind the medals and speeches, he had been orchestrating theft on a scale so vast that it rivaled the budgets of small nations. He and 54 other officers formed a network so disciplined that no civilian authorities had ever suspected them. But Traoré did. The president waited. He allowed the next Thursday night to arrive, keeping his knowledge sealed in a circle so tight that only 3 loyal aides were aware. As the clock struck midnight, 55 vehicles once again disappeared into the darkness. This time, however, they were not alone. Hidden drones tracked their movements. Satellite links beamed their location directly to the presidency, and strike teams moved silently into position. At 2 a.m., the convoy was intercepted near an abandoned airstrip. Soldiers loyal to Traoré surrounded the armored trucks. The smugglers were stunned. For the first time in years, their operation had been compromised. Some reached for weapons, but the president's orders were clear: no escape, no negotiation. By dawn, 55 officers, including Ouagadougou himself, were in handcuffs. When the trucks were opened, what they revealed shocked even the most hardened investigators. 8 tons of hidden gold, stacked in crude ingots and dust-filled sacks, gleamed beneath the moonlight. Alongside the gold were documents linking the network to international shipping companies, Swiss financial institutions, and Dubai port officials. The betrayal was not local, it was global. Burkina Faso's stolen wealth had been fueling an international black market, enriching elites while villagers starved. Yet the gold was only half the horror. Tests revealed that much of the ore had been transported without proper containment. Toxic mercury had seeped into rivers, poisoning fishing communities downstream. Worse, some of the contraband carried traces of radioactive minerals. improperly shielded and handled. Soldiers who had driven the convoys unknowingly exposed themselves to deadly doses. Their unexplained illnesses now suddenly explained. The greed of the officers had not only stolen from the treasury, it had poisoned their own people. News of the arrests spread like wildfire. By morning, international headlines screamed of Burkina Faso's boldest anti-corruption operation in decades. Foreign powers watched nervously. Some of their own banks and companies had been implicated in the smuggling chain. Diplomats scrambled to deny knowledge, while investigative journalists followed the money trail into Europe and the Middle East. For the citizens of Burkina Faso, however, the moment was deeply personal. They gathered in markets, in homes, and in the streets to celebrate. For once, justice had not been delayed or denied. For once, betrayal had been exposed before it consumed the nation. That evening, President Traoré appeared on national television. His face was calm, but his words carried the weight of history. For 15 years, he said, a group of men who wore our uniforms, who swore our oaths, and who claimed to defend our people, were secretly robbing us of our future. They sold our gold to foreign powers. They poisoned our rivers. They killed their own brothers through negligence and greed. Tonight, that betrayal ends. And let it be known, the wealth of Burkina Faso belongs to its people, not to traitors, not to thieves, not to the highest bidder in some foreign bank. He paused, allowing the silence to sink in. Let this serve as a warning. No uniform, no rank, no medal gives anyone the right to sell the soul of this nation. The days of impunity are over. From this moment forward, we will build a Burkina Faso where the people, not the corrupt few, decide the destiny of our land. The speech reverberated across Africa and beyond. Analysts debated whether Traoré's crackdown would inspire similar movements against corruption in other nations. Some feared retaliation from the powerful networks he had exposed. But for the ordinary citizens of Burkina Faso, the message was clear. Their president had drawn a line in the sand. And as the 8 tons of recovered gold were secured under guard, the streets of Ouagadougou echoed with a chant that grew louder with each passing hour. The people's wealth is never for sale.